morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Today's topic: are you a carrot or a stick leader? Do you dangle carrots and little money bags in front of people hoping that they'll chase them? Or do you do both and dash between them like a mad idiot, using these motivational tactics, hoping that something would happen? And as you use these motivational tactics, your frustration rises as you don't get the results that you know are possible. Has the carrot and the stick motivation tactic hijacked you, your results, and you've imprisoned yourself and your people in this prison? What does your prison look like? Allow me to share our hijacking experience. What our prison looked like. After 21 years in business, we decided we'll grow this business beyond 3 or 4 people. And we used that time-old method, carrots and sticks. How this all started is we set up a KPI. And our KPI was, and some of you have experienced this, set up 5 integrity and values profiles a week. Don't do anything else, just set them up. And we remunerated and rewarded accordingly. I called it I didn't call that. The team dubbed it the fog a mirror strategy. If they fogged a mirror, set them up. The result was we set up literally hundreds and hundreds of profiles for people. And then we'd offer them a feedback session. And some of you have had feedback sessions with us. It's a 2-hour session. These people just loved it. And I know many of you have had that profile feedback session. And you walk away and you go, yeah, that was good. Or you're confronted, or it's fabulous, or whatever it was. They loved it. The problem was this: they weren't in a position to buy. They got our expertise and value, and we didn't get the results. The business didn't get the results that we wanted. I was hijacked, and I took the team along for the journey. I'd get mad and frustrated. Then I'd go all out to inspire them. Let me just give them a bit of inspiration and maybe something different will happen. You wouldn't do anything like this, would you? In fact, we'd set up quarterly games. And we were so good at this that we'd even get them to name the game, set up the game, how we'd measure it and what we'd do. None of it worked. It was insane. They would do their very best. And for those associates in the room and staff, just wave and go, yes, we did our very best. The problem was it didn't work. And we got nowhere fast. So how many of you are connecting to a similar experience here? You've been running around using that carrot or stick tactic, hoping that people will do something different or you'll get the result. Or are you like me? Even as I tell this story, I cringe a bit and go, oh my goodness, did I really do that? So this morning, we want to talk about all of that. How does this motivation tactic hijack us? So for those of you who are new and you were here at the beginning, we send you to breakout rooms. You go off with your moderator and I'll pose questions. And, collective knowledge is so much more powerful. So you're going to go off to a breakout room and discuss certain questions. When you're there, you can give people your name, the company and location that you're in, and this is your first question. Have you worked or are currently working in an organisation like this that uses the carrot or the stick methods? And what effect is it having on the business? Off you go have a chat. Welcome back. So, what does your organisation look like? And did you have the little cringe factor that I do? Let's not talk about it. That we would do such weird things like remunerate people for doing their job, right? Give them more because they just did what they were employed to do. So all of that comes under that motivation hijacking. So what has us as leaders use those motivation tactics? Consider that what we're afraid of is that we will not accomplish the goal that we set for the organisation. We set goals, we set KPIs, we do all kinds of things, and then we're afraid that it's not going to happen. So then what we do is let's dangle some carrot in front of them, and then when they don't do it, we'll beat them up a little bit, and then we'll dangle the carrot again, and we're like crazy people. Consider that what is driving that is our fear. And I learnt this acronym decades and decades ago, so I have no idea who originally said it, but I think it's fantastic. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. How about this? Could we consider that people, when they come to work in our organisations, want to do a good job, and all we need to do is provide them with an environment and clear objectives, then they will do it. We don't have to do the motivation bunny dance. It exhausts us. How many of you are tired at the moment? Like you're supposed to keep everybody happy at the moment. Yeah, I can see some of you laughing. You're all like, yeah, I'm the motivation bunny, right? So consider that you're currently living backwards. When we go out to motivate people, so motivation, let's do that one first. It is extrinsic to them. It is outside of them. And it's a do me kind of attitude. You make me feel good and then I'll do my job. They're like drug addicts. Just shoot it up, shoot it up. You make me feel good, right? And then I'll be a good girl or boy and I'll do my job. And it doesn't work. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on conferences and you name it, when most people are absolutely disgusted with our behaviour. I've done it. They didn't like it. And then we're waiting, while we're motivating them, we're waiting for them to be inspired by it all. So they are, inspire me. Then, do you know what the word inspire means? It means to breathe life into. And then if they get inspired, then they'll take some actions. And they do that, and then they go, okay, I've done a little bit, now motivate me again. Get on that little motivation bunny hop job that you do, and I'll get on with it. How many of you can relate to this? Put your hand up. You can relate to it. You think, no, I don't want to admit that I do that. How many of you are finding it exhausting and you're on a crazy wheel? Right? It's insane, right? And yet, my industry need to own that we set that psychobabble nonsense up. So, how about we talk about a different way of doing it? And before we get there, I'll just make you feel a little bit more bad. then maybe you'll really be listening for how the heck do we do this differently? If you keep dangling those carrots, people become loyal to the carrot, to the incentive, and not the vision and values of the organisation. And the carrot and the stick promotes inside of your organisation, it's all about me and what I can get, rather than what we can do together. So before we go to what is it that you could do differently, I want you to have another conversation. All right? And this conversation is all about, when you do this, what is the cause? And the question that we're going to ask is, what does reward-induced motivation cause? So if you offer any kind of commission inside of your organisation that's individually based, then you've got a problem, right? What does it cause? Off you go. Go and have a little chat with your moderator. Welcome back. So what does this rewards-induced motivation cause? And how does that set up a cycle for us that we cannot get out of? Because now there's an expectation that we will do certain things. So the number one thing that it sets up is entitlement. How many of you can look around your organisation and know that there are people who are entitled? They think that just because they showed up, they're entitled to something. It also creates internal competition. If you've got a large sales force and they are rewarded by their individual results, you will set up internal competition. They will fight over leads. They'll fight over all kinds of stuff. And then we try other tactics to try and take away from that. Doesn't work. The other thing, it destroys team and creates silos. How many of you are living in organisations that have a siloed mentality? I was talking to someone the other day and they told us, as they amalgamated some teams inside of their organisation, breaking down the silos was the hardest thing that they needed to do. It destroys trust or reduces trust. You end up with all kinds of nonsense going on and stops the collaboration. So if you were at our webinar last time, I talked about synergy. 1 + 1 is how much? You think it's 2, hey? Synergy is it's 25 or whatever number you like. I like 25. Collaboration causes that small teams of people can produce an extraordinary amount of work because they do it together. So remember my slide of living backwards. Now I have to admit something. I actually forgot to give you the other flip side. Jay said, what about this? And I went, oh yeah, let me share that with you. But it fits better here so I can look really smart now. So what does it mean if we're living backwards? That is, you motivate me, then I'll get all inspired by what you said and then I'll do something. How about you live the other way? That it's intrinsic and you're responsible and disciplined and you take the actions that are required to produce the result. And being disciplined means you do it whether you like it or not. You take the actions whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter. Because you said so. Therefore, you do. And in the moment that you do it, you actually become inspired and breathe life into the energy that you put into your work. And then you're motivated. And you're not waiting for someone to do you and have you feel great. No, you do it for yourself. And as people live like that inside of your organisation, that's when motivation occurs. So it is not something that is extrinsic. It's intrinsic. So motivation is all about that. So if you don't want that, so motivation is you wind me up. And if I feel like it, then I'll do it. That's what you set up when you use the carrot and the stick. How many of you are feeling a little sense of dread as you realise you're going to have to go and change some things? But first, let me give you some information. So do you want another way? Who'd like another way? Where you're not exhausted and tired. So the next way is, you want another way? Self-discipline. Whether you feel like it or not, you do it. Self-discipline. And then you don't have to do the motivation bunny thing. Remember the story of the tortoise and the hare? The hare went dashing around doing his thing, right? And the tortoise just simply became disciplined, one step after another. Do it, do it. I love what Robert Kiyosaki says. Good business is boring. You're just doing the doing and doing the thing. And in that moment, you get this great sense of satisfaction. About 35 years ago, I attended a workshop run by Stephanie Burns. And Stephanie wrote a PhD after that period of time on adult learning. And she did this huge study on what people do. And the difference between those people who did what they said they were going to do and those people who did not. Here's what her study actually came out with. Those people who had intrinsic action orientation didn't like doing what they said they would do any more than those people who didn't. So I don't know about you, I don't like exercise. And what I don't like more is I don't want to be a heifer lump. So I decided I'll exercise. I've been doing it for years. I still don't like it. I don't like it. I like what it gives me. I don't like actually the thought of going and running and don't want to do it. And I'll do it anyway. So you don't need to like it. You simply need to do it. Now, there's some things that I do love doing, and I'll do them with no thought. You give me my knitting needles and tell me I can knit a jumper, I'm happy. Off I go. Give me a good book to read, off I go. Tell me to exercise, don't want to do it. So, other people have other things that they do. So there is a popular belief out there in the world that if you do this, then you'll get that. How many of you know that one? If you do this, then you'll get that. Now, there's a great book written by a guy called Alfie Cohen called Punished by Rewards. And this book presents an argument that is really unsettling and hard to dismiss. You cannot. It is impossible to dismiss what he's saying. So if you haven't got this book or you haven't read it, right, go get it. It's on Audible. I've been listening to it and I've been confronted because all I did was think about the conversation that I had with my 2-year-old granddaughter and that I threatened her to put her in the high chair if she didn't sit on her seat and eat her broccoli. Right? And then we say, well, eat your broccoli and I'll give you ice cream. So who's training who here? Our children train us to feed them ice cream. I eat my broccoli, you give me ice cream. What do your people do to you? What do they train you to give them? Because we don't have another way. So teaching yourself and them to be self-disciplined, if you said you would do it, then go and do it. Okay. How many of you are getting something out of this conversation right now? It's huge. This is a massive, massive conversation. So I'm going to send you to another breakout room just so I can rub some more salt into your wounds, okay? And your next question is this: why does positive thinking not work? Off you go. Welcome back. So why does positive thinking not work? Let me just give you a quick story. I was with a prospect some time ago and he shared with me how the team was all excited about the work that they had just done on creating the future of the business, and they could all see it and it was so exciting. And then nothing happened. Why is that? What happened? Here's the moral. Don't talk it up until it's done. Do the thing that has it get done. Stop it. All that rah-rah and you're so wonderful and aren't you brilliant and we're raising children in the world of you're special. Well, no, it's them and 6 billion other people are special on this planet. You're not that special. Neither am I. So stop that. Because we do not prepare people for the knocks that life brings. And then they get anxiety and all kinds of things go on, and we set them up for it as leaders. And then my industry are totally responsible for the psychobabble. It's nonsense. It doesn't work, and it just leaves everyone feeling worse because they don't measure up and they have Facebook lives. You have one of those? Or do you have people in your team with one of those? And you kind of wonder, wow, does nothing ever hurt? Now, here's the question. You can think positively all day long. Until you take massive action, nothing happens. And research shows that when you celebrate the fact that you set an objective or a goal, I've set the goal, and you get all excited about it, the dopamine rush happens then, and your mind acts as if it's already been done. So stop it. That doesn't mean that you're a miserable sod, right? And life's terrible. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you get a reality check. Until you've done something, nothing is going to change. All that imagining will not work. So hands up, everyone. Who wants to be happy? Okay, no hands. Everyone wants to be miserable. All right, so everyone wants to be happy. So what makes you happy? What makes you happy? I'd like you to consider this, that it is the struggle and then coming out through the other side that actually makes us happy. The problem is we want all the glory, that is, give me my dopamine rush without the gory. You don't want to push the boulder up the hill. And sometimes when you're pushing that boulder up the hill, it rolls back over you and you wonder, right now in business, there's a few boulders rolling back over people going, meh! Right? I felt like that a few times in the last 20 weeks. We're happiest when we have struggled and we are in the struggle and we keep moving forward. And then it happens. We're happy. Conclusion? Happiness comes from solving those problems and struggling with how to do it. And I love a quote by Buckminster Fuller. And you do a good job then. The reward for a job well done is a bigger job. How many of you have got a few bigger jobs on your hands right now? You do a good job, you get a bigger job. Yay! What fun. So remember, when you do really, really well and you're challenged and it's huge, remember you just got an upgrade. You got a bigger job. So go look for the upgrades, and you only get the upgrades not through entitlement, not because I've been here 20 years, not because I'm your brother-in-law, not because I'm your sister, not because I'm just a nice person. It's because I was willing to do the struggle. Motivation coddles people. It mollycoddles them. I was looking for a picture. I said to Melanie, who does our slides, I said, I want a person all wrapped up in cotton wool. Well, anyway, we couldn't find one. So imagine yourself. Imagine you wrapping all your people up in cotton wool and, they can't get moving forward. All right. So nothing is more dangerous than a society that coddles itself from the discomforts of life. Nothing is more dangerous than that. And we are coddling our people, our children. Stop it. There is only one first place. Not everyone needs a prize. If you got first place, great. Right? Most people in the world, 99% of them are also rands. What they did, though, made a contribution. So, either struggle and fail or struggle and succeed. Either way, you're going to struggle. I'd rather struggle and succeed. I don't like failure, by the way. I've experienced a lot of it, and I'm sure I'll still continue to. I have struggled and succeeded, and I have struggled and failed. And many times I've learnt more in the failures. And then, guess what happens when you come out the other side, whether you failed or whether you succeeded? Magic happens. You learn. So how many of you just got something out of that conversation? Hey, it's a different way of looking at it. I'm going to send you to your last breakout room. And here's the question. What drives actions without you being the motivator? So what drives actions without you being the motivator? Off you go. Welcome back. So what drives actions without you having to be the motivator? Because I'm sure all of you are a bit tired of that. Inspire me, then I'll feel good. So remember my thing at the beginning, that we use motivation to cover our fear. And most of that is false evidence that isn't real. How do we master our fear first as leaders? First, you better acknowledge that you are afraid. I don't know about you, but I can get really scared about some of the goals that we set inside of this organisation. And then I just simply need to trust, and I need to deal with my fear. When we do not acknowledge our fear, then fear has us, we don't have it. Now you might want to write that down. Fear has you rather than you having it. What does that actually mean? You know that thing that I said at the beginning, the things that actually have a team not work, an organisation not work? If I asked you to go back to that slide and go rate your organisation, how entitled are people on a scale of 0 to 5? Yeah? How collaborative are they on a scale of 0 to 5? And don't lie to yourself. Tell the truth. How good are they really at it? Now, then we get to look at the things that we really are fearful about. So, there's a piece of work that I did 40 years ago, and it's the work of a guy called Jacob Moreno. And Jacob Moreno was a psychiatrist that lived during the Great Depression. And he talked about what actually drives us forward and what keeps us where we are. And all of our associates are trained in this work. What is the driving forces? What is the disturbing motive that has you move forward? The thing that says, I am going to do this differently, and then take it on and not allow yourself to be hijacked by anything else. And then, so if you can think of your disturbing motive to move forward as sitting here, and beneath it is your reactive fear to stay where you are. Have you ever stood on the precipice of a mountain and about to, what's that called? You know, when you scale down, I've forgotten the word, right? And you're going to, or sky jump or anything. The moment before you do it, is the most terrifying. That's your reactive fear. Now, if your reactive fear is higher, just that much higher than your disturbing motive to move forward, you are stuck and will keep doing what you're currently doing. So, what will have you move forward? And what is the fear that will keep you where you are? As soon as that reactive fear becomes higher, if it's the same thing will happen. You will be stuck. If it's higher, you're even more stuck. No, you want your disturbing motive to move forward greater than your reactive fear. The moment you do that, then the promise that you made yourself because you said so happens. Because the disturbing motive is greater than the fear that is driving you. And if you want to find out how to keep your disturbing motive higher, you need to know what your personal values are and what the values of the organisation are. They become the disturbing motive to fulfill on that. And those deep and enduring values will accomplish our goals. So, if you want your people to be self-disciplined and take action, find out what they value. And figure out how the organisation's values and theirs align, and then figure out how they're going to do it. Otherwise, you will continue to exhaust yourself. Running around is the motivation bunny. One of my highest values is freedom. And my distinction on it is the gift of responsibility. It's a gift. I get freedom because I'm responsible. And then when I'm not, I notice how I am stuck and living in my reactive fear. Let's recap. Number 1, stop motivating. It's icing on a mud pie. And when you bite into it, it tastes terrible. It's still crunchy. You know when you made mud pies as a kid and you try to eat them? Well, you're still trying to eat mud pies pretending that's not what you're doing. Stop accepting and giving excuses for your people's performance. That sucks. They suck, all those excuses. Forget it. Then be and get responsible. That will bring you freedom. Remember I said the way to getting what you want is self-discipline. So get disciplined. Notice what you resist. And last, have a clear strategy. Because if you have a clear strategy, you know what actions you want people to take. Remember our fog and mirror strategy? You all remember my story at the beginning? I can assure you, until we shifted that, nothing changed. Once we did, and did the hard thinking about how we do business around here. So, either you're going to follow this, or you're going to stay on your little treadmill as the mouse or the motivation bunny who does what they're doing. Let me give you one last thing. There are structures that cause results. And they're called driving and restraining forces. And if you can think about what a driving force is versus a restraining force, and then figure out how you're going to remove the restraining forces, then people will do what is required, whether they like it or not, because they'll know that it drives them and the business forward. So driving forces seek change, seek movement forward. They're your disturbing motive to move forward. And a psychologist by the name of Kurt Lewin actually came up with these statements, okay? So driving forces, they seek change, they seek to move forward, and they use those disturbing forces to move them forward, disturbing motives to move you forward. Restraining forces are those that maintain the status quo. It is counterintuitive to carrots and sticks. So here's the question that you absolutely want to ask yourself is, what is? So here's the question. So you know Johnny, Mary on your team, Susie? The question you want to ask is, what and why is Johnny or Mary not doing? Why are they not doing it? That's the question you want to ask. And what is restraining them? Then remove the restraints and see what happens. It's amazing what happens. One of the biggest restraints that we found in our business was that getting in front of you guys was the hardest thing that we could do. If we could figure out how to put the Tama, the Allisons, the Anitas in front of you guys, we knew that you would buy. And many of you have. Because what we offer is different. We're not offering you that sucker battle. So one by one, go on the hunt for the restraining forces inside of the business and remove them one by one. That's all we've done for 3 or 4 years, is remove restraining forces, the things that stop people from doing what they were actually hired to do. You don't need to offer more money. How's that? You don't need to give idle threats. Just remove the restraints and watch the magic happen. Look, go on the hunt. So who's going to go hunting? You're going to go hunting for the restraints inside of your business. Otherwise, you will remain imprisoned with your fears and you'll take your people with you. And freedom comes with discipline and responsibility. So in closing, you as a leader, stop using your energy to motivate. Figure out why Johnny is not doing what he's supposed to be doing and remove the restraint. And while we as leaders keep attempting to turn lemons into lemonade, we end up exhausted and we're blamed by our people for their unhappiness and the results and the lack of results. So we get blamed for their unhappiness and the lack of results. No. Let them stomach the inevitable hardships of life. They will grow, and so will you, and go hunting for the restraints. Then you no longer need to be the motivation bunny. Thank you for being here this morning.